You're about to watch my latest episode of the Special Needs Supermom Podcast, where I interview the great Stephanie D'Entremont, who wrote this book, Confessions of a Confident ADHD Mind. Something went wrong with the recording though, so you see Stephanie talk, thankfully, because she's the author of this awesome book, but you don't see me. I have a little photo I implemented, but maybe it's for the best because there were two enthusiastic ADHD ladies talking, so there was a lot of hand movement. Anyway, just want to let you know something went wrong, and I really highly recommend this book. If you're a parent of a kid with ADHD and you just don't get what's going on in here, especially if your kid is a girl, this book was one big aha moment. Not just, because of Wonder Boy, but I've been recently diagnosed, and for Stephanie, the journey started when the dance teacher of her daughter said, "Did you know that ADHD is, hereditary?" I probably said that word wrong, and it made her, that started her journey. And when I read this, I went like, so much recognition, but the way she talks, what she explains, the way she writes is so ADHD. So it can be really insightful when you perhaps are struggling or have questions or, wonder what the signs are in girls with ADHD. So enjoy the podcast, and till the next time. Bye. Well, hello everybody. Hello fellow supermoms. Today I am so pleased and honored. I've got with me Stephanie D'Entremont. Yeah, I suck at French, so if I said your name wrong. And she is the author of Confessions of a Confident ADHD Mind. And I discovered her last year when she posted something in the Members Club, I think, from Gary.
Yes.
And I was going through my diagnosis, and I ordered her book. I said, "How should I do the online thing? Because I want it now." And she said, no. If you like colors, wait, just order the real thing. And it was one big aha mind. So I wanted to interview her, and thankfully she said yes. And, moms out there, with this episode, I hope you, maybe you recognize stuff or connect the dots, but also feel confident about your child who's maybe dealing with some stuff at school or with study that, a lot of people, and I have to say my parents, for instance, were like, "Oh, ADHD is a new age thing and it's a huge problem." And no, it's not. We still survived. So hello, Stephanie, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to see your face from our messaging. It's connecting faces. I love it.
So cool. Can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, hi everybody. My name is Stephanie D'Entremont. Like you said, very well pronounced. You were worried. No worries.
Thank you.
And I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. So we are literally across the pond here, connecting.
Yes.
It's amazing. I love it. I'm a mom of 2, boy and a girl, and dog mom of 1, and happily married. And I live in a small fishing village. It's pretty much very secluded, but just kind of doing your own thing. You're just kind of figuring out who you are and trying to kind of make your way into this world. But I just always felt like something was missing, like something wasn't on.
And is that the reason you decided, because you got tested at what age?
I got tested at age 40. I'm now 46.
Like me.
Yes, we are just rocking it. But you're like a fine wine.
Yes.
So,
but what was the reason?
Well, like all moms, you observe your kids, right?
Yeah.
And without kind of spoiling, I just I was just kind of observing and kind of taking in all these different behaviors or kind of like mannerisms or quirks, as you can kind of say. And they were coming from teachers, and they kept on coming. And I was just like, whew, okay, if it's coming to me, like, can you imagine it, like just how she felt and how she was feeling? And I was just like, what is going on? What is this consistent kind of like roller coaster here? And then out of the blue, just sporadically, this woman, my daughter was kind of taking dance classes. So sometimes like the social connection, like the socialness is a little bit lacking. And it's like kind of like that awkwardness or not fitting in again.
Yes.
And this lady, like no harm done, bless her. She was just kind of there monitoring the behaviors of children and how they kind of grow socially. And it was just in a dance class, just easy breezy. And then after, she kind of called us in and she's like, I just want to address this. And I'm like, okay, go ahead. Like, what are we talking about here? And she's like, did you know the ADHD is hereditary? And I was like, are you talking to me? Like, with who? And like that, like, it was almost like a sucker punch, really. Like it felt, in the gut.
At that moment, did you already knew that your daughter had ADHD?
No. Not a clue. Just going with different views and different kind of quirks and actions and things. And I'm like, okay, that could explain that. Then you go all in hyper focus Google mode.
Oh yes,
and you're like,
that's the worst.
Whoa. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna rip off the bandage first. So I'm like, yeah, team mom.
Oh wow.
And I was like, okay, if it's hereditary, then I'm the tree and like she's the apple. And it was just like, what? Yeah, it was literally a sucker punch, but the best blessing ever to like explain.
It's so
everything.
funny to hear you talk about that because, we chatted a little bit before we hit the record button, but like I explained, so Wonder Boy has autism and ADHD, but we never had problems at home because he looked like his parents. His dad is really, straightforward in the box
Logic.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm
all over
the place.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
But at home, we had a tight schedule. But I never thought about it. It was because, my husband is military, so he's always gone. So, of course, during the weekends, we don't do a lot of things because he's glad he's home. Right. But I never realized, I like my quietness as well. So we already had this structure that worked. And I grew up with several siblings, and we had a tight schedule there when I was younger. So schedule. I was a really responsible child because I had a young brother that died. So I was this responsible girl. Right. So it never surfaced. Yeah, I was chatty, and if you look at my report cards, distracted, always daydreaming, loves to chat. But I did my work, so it never surfaced. And for me, it was, I never thought about when my son had ADHD. When they said, oh, he has ADHD and all the problems he was struggling with, I never connected them with myself until last year. I had this young woman for the podcast, and I thought, to bring hope for moms, it's not all a problem, blah, blah. And I heard her talk going, and now I read your book. And for the people that watching this on YouTube, you can see all that. And you can see the papers, but I've got all these earmarks in the book going, yes, that's me. And it took me 45 years going, wait, what my son is experiencing, that's not the autism thing. That's the ADHD. And I've got the exact same. Exactly. Why did I never connected the dots? And for you, it was like you heard it's, you can inherit it, and you were like, wait a second. So it started with you then. So you went for
So I went for my assessment, passed flying colors.
Oh yes, yeah, great. Huh?
Array of colors.
An A+ without any problems.
Yeah. The best test I ever ate.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So like that feeling, obviously, of driving to the appointment, I have to say, I'm driving and I'm just like, oh my, okay, it is what it is. That's okay. And I'm like, oh, that's probably the building over there. Gone by. Like, that's where my brain was. And I was just like, okay, let's turn around, recalibrate, and just go. So it was a lovely meeting. Like, she was an amazing person to speak with. Like, we were just chatting. There was no like inquisition, and there was no like made you feel like less of, or it was just calm. And and leaving there, as chaotic and as frantic as your thoughts were getting there, it was like, oh, now what? It was kind of like a breath. And then I'm like, okay, who am I now? Right?
Yeah.
And it was almost like, I am reborn, literally.
Oh, wow.
Because I have all these new powers that I need to figure out how to use them for my good, and not as my nemesis.
Yeah. So beforehand, you saw them as, why I'm this weird, or why am I doing, and now you were like,
why can I do 20 projects and start with so much like and then burnout because I'm like, I don't know where to put that. How come?
Or finish them, because that's so boring. Boring.
Yeah, and math and numbers and calculations. No, not a fan.
No, that made sense to me. As long as they didn't have long stories. The whole going through a long story.
Yes. And analyzing. No, thank you. No, not a fan. No. So it's just kind of like realizing it and accepting. Like, that is the majorest puzzle piece in this equation. Acceptance. Because if you're resisting all these colorful layers I like to use, like not labels, layers, they're gonna reveal themselves to you, and you're gonna be like, wow, I did that. How? But it's in accepting. Yeah.
Did you find it hard? Because, I went for I had this whole diagnose day, and I saw it as a gift. I went there in my brightest color dress and my Kansas cowboy boots, going, I love it. I was so all about myself. I had no, my special needs kids. I didn't have to care for them.
It was a you day.
It was a me day. Yeah. But afterwards, I also felt guilty. Why didn't I? Could I have not helped my son better? Could I have not? Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
No.
That's pretty much my cathartic relief. Guilt, writing this book and just putting it out there, saying, whew, like, I'm doing the best I can. I am human. I'm just feeling these emotions maybe more so than others. And the highs are high and the lows are lows. And there's like no in between. And there's no manual. There's no manual. Hate to break it to you. So you have to life hack in the driver's seat. And literally do the motions and what works for you.
Yeah, but how did I do wonder, how did your family or friends react? Were they okay with it, or they were like, sometimes depends on the age?
I know, because like you say, ADHD, is it a thing? Is it real? And our parents are our parents, and they're set, in their ways, and they would never think anything that way, because it's not like how they were kind of raised to to Google, like, you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
not as, held on like a crutch like these and easily exposed to these. So never even crossed their mind ever. And I obviously it took me 40 years to figure this out. So it's like a puzzle piece in my DNA that was like, okay, like where are these missing pieces? And then just kind of writing this book and then just seeing how my mannerisms are, because I'm still me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you don't know me by now, well, I'm an open book. So my friends, my family, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that explains a lot. But yeah, there was no judgment. It was just welcoming. It was just, it was
Oh,
nice.
that's so nice.
Yeah.
No, I had several reactions going from, well, my husband didn't see the point. Why would you do this? Because I love him for it, because he always quotes Mark Darcy from Bridget Jones' Diary. I like you just the way you are.
The way you are.
And we're total opposites. And but that's
You
also
need
a
that
good
balance.
thing. Yeah, because to me, she would go nuts, but to him, you would also, we balance each other out.
Right.
But he went like, why would you get a diagnosis? I mean, you don't finish any sentence. And after the diagnosis, you still won't finish a sentence.
Yeah.
You will still go into every rabbit hole.
Exactly.
You can.
But now you have an explanation.
Yeah.
So you have this guide.
Yeah.
And it's accepting and realizing, oh, that's why. I get me now. Awesome. I'm awesome.
Yeah. And it was not like that he didn't want me to get a diagnosis.
No,
he didn't see the problem.
Story.
Yeah.
It's not his story.
No.
Right? And everyone has a story, and that's like a game changer for me.
But it was for me also that, he said he didn't have a problem with me or how I was. And it wasn't until we talked about, the assessment and, well, I did cognitive behavioral therapy afterwards, also just to try it out, not realizing it is super handy. Really? God. But it was the first time that I explained to him really what goes into my head, goes on in my head.
Is not the same as yours.
The time. And I, for the test, I had to try out Ritalin. Because I had to do a computer test with and without, but I had hyperfocus, so I was great in the test anyway. But I took this medication, and my son has been on medication almost all his life. But it was the first time I went like, wait, where are the voices? Where are they?
You were
this is nice. This is. Oh my God, this is like a glass of wine. Well, like 3 glasses of wine, but without going,
at the level of focus. Yeah.
I remember standing at a train station, and it sounds really weird, but normally I'm standing at the train station and I see the lights of an office, and I'm thinking about all the people still working late, and it's so bad. And I think all these stories,
everything,
and all the people on the train station, I come up with stories about them as well. So I'm constantly, and I was standing on the train station with the medication, and I'm like, oh, so this is it. To just
I'm going on a train.
I'm just standing here. Oh, this is, but I was still rejecting it. Yeah, because afterwards they said, well, after this diagnosis, if you go to us, cognitive behavioral therapy, and we want you to try out meds. And I was like, that's ridiculous, and I don't need meds. The funny thing is, in our house, there's a lot of medication because I've got asthma, a son with autism and ADHD. And I always said, it doesn't matter that you need medication, because your sister needs medication for her juvenile arthritis. I need assistance with my lungs, and you need assistance with your head. Exactly. But for some reason, I had to white knuckle through it. It's so funny that it's okay for everybody, but apparently I just need to.
Yeah. And I get it. I'm not there, and I may need to go there. But for me, my therapy is creativity and writing and just doing things that I love to infuse and fill and bring that dopamine up like that way. But you can only do so much. And there's a lot of tasks as a mom, you're juggling and you're wearing so many hats and you really need to fill your cup.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's kind of like, I'm like, ooh, okay. No harm in that. No harm in that. I'm just afraid that you just sometimes hear that it may kind of like dumb down the creativity.
No,
and I hope that that's just a myth.
No, because I'm a copywriter.
Right.
That's I've got my own copywriting agency, and I am creative.
And you're thriving.
I'm still, but I write a lot of really difficult technical copy.
Right.
Or I like to say I make nerd sexy for my clients.
I love
it. I make the geek understandable for the non-nerd.
Oh, brilliant.
But sometimes I realize now I go twice as fast because I don't have a gazillion ideas popping in my head in the meantime.
Stopping you. Yes, true. Mm-hmm.
And it's so I still have all the creativity, and I still I make my own designs for the podcast, but also for my copywriting agency. So the creativity isn't gone at all.
Yes, that's great.
But it's I'm lucky so far because it is a journey.
Right.
I started with my son because he started with a Ritalin. What was awake till 3:00 in the morning, so that didn't work.
Oh.
But he also had one medication one day that both my kids, one for juvenile arthritis, the other one with their ADHD. It wasn't the first hit, and their body really needs time to get used to something. And he had
not a one size fits all.
Yeah, because he had one pill, and he was crying because he lost his imagination. And my son is a Lego master builder.
Right.
So he has this nowadays. He
vision.
He makes these Lord of the Rings kind of maps, and he has a lot of fantasy, like his mom. And he had one medication, and it stopped his fantasy. Away. And a psychiatrist said, "Oh, that's a good thing because he needs to ground."
No,
and I went like, "No.
No.
He needs help with less distraction." But
but it
never
took away.
Ever lose his fantasy.
Never.
What a dumb comment.
Yeah, that was no.
Yeah, so
that's unacceptable. Yeah,
but the right one should not do that.
Right.
So, but how? I wanted to also ask you. So you wrote this book.
Yes, I focused and finished a book.
Yeah. What was the reason? Was it just also for yourself, like a therapy in a book form, or also, for your kids? Or did your diagnose? That was I kind of also wanted to ask you that. That you have ADHD now. How does it help your kids? Maybe that's my first question. Yeah, your diagnosis. How does that help you? Help your kids?
Right. So when you literally take everything out and you're analyzing your heart and soul and you go really in, fearless, you go in. So that's kind of how, after my diagnosis, that I again, like, it was mom guilt. It was heavy. It hurt. It didn't make me feel like myself. And those who know me, like, my outside wasn't matching my inside. It was not. And I was tired of trying and not knowing how. And I began to journal everything, just get it out of my head. Cathartic relief, just write it out and just get out that guilt and just let it go. Like let it go. Take it in, let it go. And as I was writing, all of a sudden, like, my words started to be like who am I talking to on this big stage? Like, I'm in my house and I'm talking like as if I'm speaking to the world all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So it's like my words kind of changed as I was accepting myself and trying to release that guilt and trying to show my kids it's okay to be who you are.
Yeah.
Authentically, that is the best gift I can ever give you. And if I've given you also colorful layers with that gift, you're welcome. But you have to figure this out along yourself. Like, it took
Yeah.
me 40 years. So I did not want them to feel stuck for 40 years. I want them to just honor and accept what they've been given and use that and spread it out into the world, because like the world has no idea who you are until you accept what you're meant to be here.
Yeah.
Like, you have all these talents and these like so many superpowers that people just don't grasp because it's not in their DNA. It's in your DNA.
Yeah.
It's in your wiring. And just kind of writing that out, like pen to paper, making that connection, like was like, oh, that kind of solidified a lot in my head. And it's almost like a memoir to them, just as I was kind of watching their behaviors. It made me realize how we are so connected, like, and wired the same way. And I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Please don't ever be ashamed of it. Like, do not, like, go and own it into the world. And it just helped release that guilt.
Yeah.
As crazy as we moms, we have so much guilt for anything.
Yes.
And it's still there. There's still some little itty bitty little trickles of guilt. They'll always be, but it's not so heavy. It's not so heavy. And I just felt like, you know what? This is what's going on in my world. So I'm just going to blurt it out into the world. And I know there's more people out there. Like, where are you, people?
Yeah.
And you know there's strength in numbers. So it's like, yes, people, we got this. Just accept.
Yeah. And I think also, like you said, you know, your kids have to find their own journey and what works for
They
them.
do.
And I have to say,
and it's
I'm an overprotective mom.
yeah.
And I try to.
Little helicopter.
I'm also now know that I'm just impatient as fuck. Excuse my language. So it explains a lot. But
yeah.
I'm so glad that I always told my kids, you know, and especially Wonder Boy, because, you know, autism and ADHD, it still has a label. And we always told him, it doesn't matter. And you are who you are. And one day he said to my mom, because he said, we always joke about it. We love The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon. And we always joke about all our quirks. We all have quirks.
Yes.
And
they're beautiful.
One day he said something like, Grandma, I can't deal with this. That's not artistic enough for me. And it was we had a family party, you know, big extended family party. And my mom went like, shh, you say out loud that you're autistic. And he said, Grandma, I'm autistic and there's nothing wrong with it.
Oh, bless him.
I succeeded as a parent.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't mean that he is not insecure, because he feels different a lot. But the fact that he just said that, I was so
right
proud.
there.
And it's also teaching his grandparents that, you know,
that it's like, okay, we're not set in your ways. No.
But you know, so now I have conversations with him going like, oh, but I've got this and blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, yeah, Mom. Hello. That's the ADHD. I
love it.
But what works for him or me doesn't necessarily, you know, work for the other. So
that's right. Yeah. You have to find what works for you. And it starts with the inside out. Like, you really have to find that balance And again, like this podcast, you fill your cup however you want to fill your cup, but you don't feel guilty about self-love, because you need to find that for yourself to give it to others. And guess what? It's draining. Okay. You are a super mom, babe. Woo! Like, you are human too.
Yeah.
So yeah, allow yourself to just be in the moment and recharge. Like you said, you go to a party. I love like interacting, obviously, but I'm drained after. I'm like, I need to fill batteries, and there's no guilt. I'm like, no, leave me alone. Going outside for a walk, to the stream, to anywhere, like to the ocean, just whoo. And there's no guilt in that. You do you.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best thing. Don't judge, just do you. Yeah.
I think I already know the answer, but I think this book is not only great for moms of kids with ADHD, but I think also for instance, grandparents or teachers. And the reason I say this is because the way you write is the way an ADHD person is.
Right. Like it's easy breezy. There is no thinking. It's just out. No filter.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's
tastefully.
I think if you read it, this is how ADHD people are. You know, the way you write it, and there are a lot of confessions and things that you have in your ebook. And I'm like, yes. And it's also, I think, for parents, but also grandparents and, teachers.
Yes, I
think insightful.
I call it my pocket full of sunshine. It's an easy read. It's not like scholastic, like thinker.
No.
Who was that? No, just uplifting quotes. Again, I'm such a quote girl. They are my instant cheerleader for all our thoughts that are in our head, and there's sometimes not pretty ones. These
but
quotes, they're like, woo, raw.
Yeah, like, because you had several things, and there are some that are quotes that are really, can help kids inspire, to be themselves, like try to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud, and things like that. But I think what also can be really insightful, that I'm a copywriter, and at certain moments you wrote confession, I can't spell. The funny thing is,
no kidding, I can't spell, so how am I writing a
but
editor?
You know why? Because we're bored. We've written it, so now we're done. Somebody else.
We're done. You make it work.
Hello, spell check. Or
like you have
editor.
To ask for help. Like, your superpower was like, focus and finish this.
Yeah.
Way to go. And now it's like, okay, did I spell correctly? Don't know. Pass in the reins. You should not feel guilty about passing the reins.
No.
You can't do it all. We are super moms, but we can't do it all.
No. And also because, that's not our strength. And we already have another great thing that we're going to start. So that's hello, assistance. Hello,
exactly.
Cleaner for your house. Hello.
Exactly. Just do your strengths. Work on your strengths and show them to the world, and ask for help for your weaknesses.
Yes.
There's no harm in that.
Yeah. It's not easy, especially as a supermom,
so
because we try to do.
You have to really dig in.
Yeah.
And just like, okay, no, it's not working.
No. I also love that you wrote, because a lot of people, they see ADHD people, we come across often, we're out there, we're outspoken, we seem to be really confident, but you wrote at a certain moment, I'm my own worst enemy.
Pretty much. Yep.
Because people see happy go lucky over this kind of image, and really loud, but inside, and that goes for our kids as well. They overthink
everything. And I mean, we have mature years of learning how. I mean, meditation has been a godsend, because I did not think I could even sit, let alone, I'm like, okay, I can breathe, But I'm like, okay, now what?
Okay, but can you do meditation without the guided visual? Because I can't.
Oh, I need someone there.
Yes.
Oh, golly gee.
Because otherwise it's boring.
It's like, I'm like, what? Oh, okay. So I need that for supper. So I'm gonna stop at the store, and I'm like going down. I'm like, no, breathe, get back to your breath.
Yeah,
like,
guided visualizations, people.
So good. Yeah,
and there are
like
great ones out there for kids as well.
I know. Like it's all these little tools and little tricks. You don't need to do them daily, but if you can incorporate them little by little, oh my gosh, game changer.
Because you talked about balance, and I wanted to know, how do you balance things? And do you see your kids have their tricks to balance themselves as well?
Well, yeah, it's a very good question. And we're still in the balancing act, obviously. I just know sometimes just looking at them, and obviously these things are not helpful at all because it's like a crutch, and that's a different dopamine fix, which is toxic kind of in my eyes. But so I know that when they're overstimulated, they're not going to be their best selves at all. So it's like, okay, go for a wheeler ride, or go read your book, or go take a bath, or just go like kind of recharge, because you're right now like wired, you're like overstimulated, and there's no good in that.
Okay,
there's no good in that.
You notice that, and so you kind of need to help them still,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yep.
How old are they?
I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old.
Oh, wow, they're close in age then. Yeah, mine are 16 and 18.
Wow, cool. Yeah, I know, lots of gray hairs. Yeah.
No, I'm sticking to the red. I'm not turning gray. Sometimes my daughter is like, Mom. I'm like, no. This is just the lighting.
So it's trending.
No, but I saw it for my self. Well, I never did take moments. That's what I'm learning now, because now I'm like,
yes, you have to.
That's why I'm so overly tired all the time. Besides the fact, having a lot of health problems with my daughter that drains you, or if your kids are not doing well.
Yeah, it's hard
to.
It's all these little pieces that just come out of you.
And I say yes to everything. Not being able
we
to
are
say
so
no.
Empathetic. We absorb everything, all the sadness.
But I realized my son, and it already since he was like 2 or 3 years old, he couldn't fall asleep because, of course, his mind wasn't done yet. But since he was like, he only ever played with Legos. That was his thing. Nice. And I can still remember going upstairs to his room, and we went to bed, and it was like almost 12 o'clock. And we heard something upstairs. And it was I think he was like 3 years old at the time, happily playing with his Duplos. And he was like, hey, hello, Mom. And he was like, oh, are you going to come play with, honey, you have to go to bed. But we realized after a few years, our son needs an hour and a half before he goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Because the Legos helps him process the day. So playing with Legos, that was
it's his kind of therapy.
His balanced therapy kind of thing. Yeah. And it was so funny that as a mom, you're like, you see your kids that they're, need help to slow down. But as a mom, you go on and go on and go on and go on.
Yeah.
The funny thing is something I heard from a psychiatrist. We always think, screens are toxic, so they shouldn't be on their phone before they go to bed. My son watches a lot of Minecraft gamers or history. He watches listens to a lot of history things. Mm-hmm. And one of the psychiatrists said, yes, the funny thing is we have more and more evidence that people with ADHD, if they listen and watch YouTube before they go to bed, it numbs their brain. And that's why it's helpful. That's why you see, we didn't have that as a kid, so we don't think about it as a...
We don't know.
But for them, it's like this. It helps them slow down. Yes, soothes.
Really?
And I'm like,
I would have thought opposite.
yeah, no, it's kind of like listening to an audiobook, but of course there's,
Right.
but often they don't even watch that anymore. My son
Right.
really listens to it and then just falls asleep.
It falls asleep.
Because if he doesn't
Yep.
have it on, his brain is going bloop, 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 bloop.
Yes. So you're hearing your thoughts that you're kind of like distracting. So might as well do something that
Yeah.
you're liking.
Yeah. And he's not
kind of
gaming.
Get you.
He's
Yes.
listening to
He's listening.
people
Yeah.
chat or
Yeah.
So that
it's
is
just
an
kind of
interesting.
soothing.
Yeah.
That is an interesting.
Anything.
Yeah.
I never thought
Yeah.
about it until a psychiatrist of him, and it was kind of his own psychiatrist had maternity leave or something, so we had a substitute. And that guy said, "Oh, but no, didn't you know there's more and more evidence people with autism ADHD that can't shut off their mind, watching and listening to those YouTube stories or whatever."
It just is a mechanism of just kind of zoning out.
Yes. And, keeping the noise out.
Yes, definitely. There's lots of noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
I'm going through the questions I wrote down. I'm like, okay, do I have? Yeah, because I can quote like a gazillion things. I think a really important page for moms that are still struggling with the whole ADHD thing, because a lot of us see ADHD as a typically, boys in the class, disruptive.
Yeah.
Think it's a new age thing, while the first book written about disruptive boys in the class was written in 1835 or 1837.
Really? Wow.
Why wasn't it a thing in the Middle Ages? Because in the Middle Ages, we didn't have to go to school and sit behind our desk from early in the morning till late in the afternoon.
Yes. And sit and just be like, really? Not everyone's going to be taught and listen the same at all.
But there's a huge difference. And I was reading to, what you wrote about ADHD in girls.
Yes.
And everyone is like, yes. Fidgety, overly chatty, scattered, forgetful, overly emotional. And I always thought I was just really sensitive.
Me too.
My son as well. Way too sensitive.
Super
interrupt and speak out. I find it so hard to not say anything. But also have difficulty making decisions. That's
oh gosh, story of my life.
Oh,
like, don't give me a menu. No, don't. No. I'm like, just order me something good. You're on. I'm done.
I loved it because you said something about not making decisions, and I'm like, maybe I should ask my husband to make the decision in those cases, because
I'm like, just order me something good.
Yeah.
You know what I like. I'm done. I don't know.
Messy or disorganized. And that's really funny because you're an interior.
I know.
Designer.
It's so hypocritical. And that's what I had to come to terms with. And that's part of loving yourself from the inside out and acceptance. And it's like, I'm not born to be a housekeeper.
Well, first of all,
no, I can decorate your house.
Yeah, but cleaning is boring. It's not filling your cup.
It's not filling my cup. I don't want to smell the cleaners. No. But yes, I can see the joy and the clarity after, but it's to get in between, to get to the after, not a clue.
I noticed that what helped with my son early on was, I couldn't say to him, clean your room, because first of all, he didn't see the problem. And there was logic in his, for me, chaos, for him, totally logic why that was there and that was over there.
It's organized. I can see it. It's fine.
Yeah. So for him, it was, we started with, just pick up one kind of thing, just pick up the pieces of paper, or just pick up all the yellow Lego bricks.
Yes. One thing
at a time. And he will still sometimes say to me, Mom, wait, too many things. Because I will go to like, maybe you can do this. Oh, wait, if you're going to do that, you can. And he's like, stop.
Yeah. One thing. Yeah, exactly. Same thing here. It's like directions. Okay, what? Turn left and what?
Yeah.
What?
It's always really funny if I give people directions.
Just write it in my phone.
And I'm on my phone and I'm giving directions, and my husband has to laugh because I'm actually walking around going, oh, and then you have to go left to that really big building. And he's like, seriously, just give me the phone. I will tell them how to go, because
that is not what they said. I'm like, you sure? Mm-hmm.
I get lost with my GPS.
Me
it's
too.
Like, I'm great in it.
Rerouting.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That my
left.
I'm pretty sure my GPS for several times was like, I'm going to quit.
Lady,
Can I just quit? I don't want to be a GPS anymore.
I know. I feel your pain, but you have to laugh about it, because if you don't, you're gonna be like, I suck. And it's gonna be so easy to fall down that rabbit hole of I suck. That sucks. Well, and then you're just gonna bring in those thoughts, and then you're gonna really not feel well, because you're gonna like, again, have that and believe that when it's no, you don't. No, you don't. You're just not processing those directions like that, one step at a time, or get someone to co-pilot, or it's life hacking.
Yeah,
you have to.
I want
and not be so hard on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're so good at it.
Oh yeah, that takes a lifelong practice. So, still working on it.
For everyone, really, if you want to, if you're totally not ADHD, this might have been like, wow, that's a lot of chatter, but this will, I think, as a mom, help you understand what's going on in the mind of your kids, because going into rabbit holes, we don't do it on purpose. We
don't.
Not getting distracted. How can we not get distracted? By the way, a white wall and a clean desk doesn't help, because we have a lot of imagination.
Exactly. No, I need colors.
Yeah,
so white is not my thing.
But also, that's not the trick.
I'm a magenta girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually, I'm okay. I'm green.
You got
green. And Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda.
And Yoda.
So, nerding all the way.
You are all the way. It's like dopamine dressing we were talking about. What fuels the fire within, and like, how do you want to bring yourself in that confidence out there? Like, I love colors. Like, I'm not afraid of colors, and they literally are like my shield. I'm like, yep.
Yes. And I think, that's actually a great tip for parents as well. We often say, oh, shouldn't you wear this or that? Let them wear whatever, because it's also what we don't realize often, especially if you go to high school, which is basically you have to go to this place
is a judgment
with people you don't like, with people you don't want to hang out, judging all the times. You have to learn stuff you don't want to. So we don't realize it, but it's like going to the office with people you all dislike or hate, doing a job you don't love,
you don't like. So,
and that's really what it is for your kids, especially teenagers.
Exactly. There's always like, it's gonna take its toll at some point, and that underlying behavior is gonna be like, there's a reason. You really have to find that patience, and it's hard because wine. Put some strong stuff in there.
But if your kid wants to wear this t-shirt that says, I don't know, screw the world, let them, because it is at that moment. I do know that the restrictions in America when we lived there were way higher than here in the Netherlands, but it is their shield. Like, you probably have your favorite shoes, or sometimes if I have to write a really difficult piece, besides having Miles Davis in the background, I wear my power heels. I'm just sitting behind the desk, but it helps me.
I need things to surround me that's going to empower me. Like my crystals, or I love flowers. Like, it's just what's going to supercharge you.
I've got flowers as well, but so I live in the Netherlands. Flower bulb, tulips.
I do too.
I grew up in the flower bulb area of the Netherlands. I'm allergic.
No.
So I have tulips, but now I've got my nerd tulips. Lego
They're
tulips.
Lego. Oh, they're more precious. They're long lasting.
Every year I make the mistake several times when the new fresh tulips come from the fields. I buy them.
and then you regret it.
Within 6 days, within 3 or 4 days, especially the better tulips, not the supermarket tulips. I'm like, where's my inhaler? Where's my inhaler?
Oh no!
But I do that several times a year, and then I just have the tulips outside. It would be nice.
Yes, you can
or I give them away.
They're still pretty, and they're not in your space. Yeah. You have to take it upon yourself to get the things that are going to cheer up your day. If you're having one of those days and it's easy to just put on your pajama pants and just put the covers over your head and just like, nah, I'm done. Like, it's gonna take a lot to get dressed and get yourself some flowers. Get yourself that comforting cup of coffee. Like, holy moly, dig deep and fill your cup so you can pass it on to others. And
nowadays, I start my day, and I also said it to my kids. I start my day asking myself 3 questions. How do I feel when I wake up? How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? And what do I need to get to that feeling?
To get to that. Yeah. I love that.
Sometimes, you have a bad day, and that's totally okay.
And you're fine. And it's normal. You're human. Yeah. You're allowed to have a bad day. But it's to be stuck there a lot. It's not going to benefit the people around you or yourself well. So that's where you kind of have to like either take an intervention with yourself or a friend that you can trust. Like you have to, you're here for a reason and you need to shine. Yes. You don't let anyone like dull you down. No.
So, if you want to bring your kid, help your kids shine, I would really recommend getting this book, Confessions of a Confident ADHD Mind, because it's really insightful about how the ADHD mind works and also, what you can do, how you can, bring the best out of yourself, really.
Yeah,
where can they get this?
Oh my goodness. Well, you can, if you come on my website, someone who's a techie, not me, has organized all these buttons and cards. And you can find me at touchofsass.com, which sass, literally, if we want to go there, because it's all about the sass, right? I believe so much in obviously authenticity and just being your own. So Sass was my maiden name, Stephanie Ann Surek. Sass. Now I'm happily married, Stephanie Ann Dontremont. Sad. Not the same. So I am sticking with my roots, Sass. So like my business name is Touch of Sass, and it's just that, like, it literally became that from having my kids. I began as an interior designer, just kind of designing kids' rooms when they were born. Like my daughter was born first, so I kind of tackled her room, and everyone was like, "Oh, can you come into mine?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure. Wow, okay." And just Sass. So Sass kind of transformed into so many things, but sass as a definition, SASS, is lively, bold, and full of spirit. So
seriously? 2 days ago, my daughter said I had to laugh about my daughter. She was, I don't know, doing something, and I had to laugh. And I said, and she was looking at me, I'm like, I just love how sassy you are. And she said to me, Mom, I've got that from you. Like, best compliment ever. Writing that down the moment she's horrible again and remembering.
Like, who are you? Yeah. I know. So you can totally come on touchofsass.com, go down and you'll find the buttons, or Amazon.com, like Canada, it's indigo.ca. Then there's Barnes and Noble for like US.
So I miss Barnes and Nobles. I love that store.
I have never officially gone in, but I can see me being overstimulated.
Yeah, no, but and I overbuy because impulse. But there was Starbucks in there.
I know,
and
right?
You can buy not only books but you can buy
I know. You can buy
stuff.
tote bags, probably, like so much accessories and candles.
Yes, but also, they had fun and educational things for kids, but also it's just, I don't know, it's dangerous to go there. Yes.
It's dangerous. Yeah, it's a impulse buy nightmare.
Yeah.
I hear you. I know.
I know. Leave your cards at home. Only have cash.
Just show
the amount, the money you want to spend. Yes. And yes. So, do you have a handy, besides, first a general tip you have for parents? Or an insight,
I would say, like, again, there's always an underlying, like, there's always something more than the behavior. And you have to put on your detective hat and be patient with that and get to the bottom of it. Like, you don't want to like, oh my God, like, what's going on? Like, they're not going to talk, like, depending on the age and the stubbornness and, right.
And we're parents, really. We're
of the teens. Yeah.
So.
Need I say more? So it's kind of like if you can't change the child, which, I mean, you want to help influence, but if you can't change the child, change the environment. Like, change the environment, like, change the habits, change the little things, not overwhelm, but start small and change the environment.
Yes.
I would say.
Yeah. And it also means, if your kid is in a school and it's not going well,
it's not for them.
Take them out. Because you only damage more.
School. It is a taste of their life. It's not their life, but it's a social experimenting of their life. And what is more important, mental health or school?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. We made a mistake when we came back from the States because we were stationed in the States for a couple of years. We came back and we chose several schools and we visited them with the kids and they were allowed to decide.
Oh, nice.
We didn't really realize that we were kind of, chose a posh high school of our elementary school, and it was all about the grades. State assessments and state assessments. One is excellent, 5 is the worst. You can go below 5, I can tell you. At least my kids could.
Yes.
But they were really smart, but it was all about. And one day I said,
it was to my son, not for them.
Wow, you got a C for spelling, for grammar, English grammar. That's great, because he sounds like a little professor, but for the life of him, he can't spell. And already in Kansas, at the age of 6, the professor at the university said, spelling, grammar won't be his thing ever. Just teach him now where grammar correct is, because it doesn't make sense, so it won't stick.
He's going to sound it out and spell it how
and that teacher just went, always negative. She corrected me, saying to him, great job for getting a C for your spelling. Well, he sucked in spelling. And she didn't stop until we told her, we don't want him. We have different levels of high school here in the Netherlands. It's not about getting to the highest level of high school. We want him to be happy. And that's already so hard for the oversensitive boy.
Exactly.
And that was unfortunately the last class in last year of elementary, we should have said it at the beginning. And it's not about success in life doesn't mean A+.
No,
Getting
no,
A+.
no.
I think in the end, you want to be happy.
Happy.
And happy doesn't mean that you're doing this corporate, boring 9-to-5 job. Happy means that you're doing what you love, whatever that is.
Whatever that is, exactly. It's so important because it just will weigh on your soul. And oh my goodness, what a long life that would be. Miserable.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
No. Ain't got time for that.
Do you have one hands-on tip parents could implement right away that helps their kids, manage their ADHD or their overwhelm?
Well, I mean, we know, and this is a game changer for me, like activity, like movement. Like we know they move, we move. We're driven by movement, but it's to find that activity of movement, like physical activity that they thrive in, that they like, to boost up their dopamines as well, and kind of get them active, because then you're going to mingle with some more people that are like-minded in that activity type of thing. And even as a family, you're going to be able to do the things, let's say if it's bike riding, but just even like nature, getting grounded with nature, like go get grounded in nature.
Yes.
Right? Like it's so beneficial again. And like our kids are like sitting in school and then there's tech coming at them, and it's just, it's kind of like it's like we want that dopamine, but we want also a dopamine detox as well. Like it's like a fine balance. So I know for me, when I do CrossFit, like it's a gym experience, but it's with like-minded people. There's so much strength in numbers. I can't explain more.
And the great thing about CrossFit is there's a different routine every day.
It's not like, I'm done. No, like you're there for an hour and it's like, you don't have time to think because you're like, you have to breathe.
Yeah, but also you have a different workout of the day every day. I love that. Yes. I've got this little jar with exercises that I just every day pull out one. I'm like, oh, today I'm going to do this.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Like it's a game changer. Just getting active, because we know it's gonna set off some new pathways in your brain, that if you're just set on the old mundane holy moly, this is boring, what do I no, you're gonna get supercharged and just kind of set a new pathway, and it's going to hopefully light you up and make you excited to do this activity.
I want to add one tip on that, because Wonder Boy hates exercise. Seriously, also his balance is off. So cycling costs a lot of energy also because of all the things he has to, and we cycle in the Netherlands. We don't have school buses. You cycle to school. Even if the high school is 10 kilometers away, you cycle to school. There's no school bus system. We don't have that. So, but he hates, he also doesn't have the eye-hand coordination.
And the hand coordination.
And things.
Yes.
And a few years ago, well, actually, I think the first year of COVID, I can't even remember the year it was, first year of COVID.
Yes, I know. It's been
so long. He said, Mom, can we try to go running again? And it drained him, and he found it so hard. It's so hard, I can't go on. Until I noticed you can make it fun. And how we make it fun? I do this with my son nowadays.
Yes.
Because I am a runner. But with something on my head, because I
always.
Otherwise, my brain goes into.
It's not relaxing.
I left my house. My kids are going to you, Mom. I don't know. So I always have a book. And then I thought, wait a second. I downloaded a book for him, a Star Wars book, not the regular Star Wars, but Star Wars for the real nerds, Tron Trilogy. And I had it downloaded when he had to get braces and he had to sit still in a chair for 3 hours.
Right.
And suddenly I thought, wait a minute, that's it. He
Something.
can listen to tranquility when we run. And now sometimes he's like, Mom, can we go for a long walk with the dog? Because then we can listen to the book again. Or Mom, shall we go for a run again? It wasn't because he still doesn't like running or you know, exercise.
But there's something to look forward to.
You know, listening to his favorite nerd books.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like,
and it helps you connect as well.
Yes. You kind of need that. Oh, there's something to look forward to. Oh, what is it? Like, oh, what's the adventure today? Like, so it's little things, little changes, I guess, that help bring that balance. And what works for everyone, it's to find it, but you got to try.
Yeah.
And it's not usually the first time.
I still have so many questions. But, you know, I think for this episode, we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
Don't click on the Zoom ending call the moment I say goodbye.
We talk for an hour.
Yes. So I want to, everybody, really, if you want a better insight into ADHD, whether it's for yourself because you're wondering why you get stuck as well, or for your kid because you just don't get it, why they can't finish a task, why even when they're sitting in front of a white wall, they still get distracted.
My dog.
Read this book because it's really insightful. So
thank you. Oh, yeah, my dog says too. My dog says read this book.
Read the book.
Oh, dear.
So thank you so much. Don't hang up immediately when we wrap it up. But I wanted to say now for the guests, everybody watching, thank you so much for being on the show. And let's stay connected because
I love it.
I already have a new episode idea. I'm like, we should talk about this as well. But if an ADHD person has to listen for a podcast for over an hour, we can't do that. So we will make that into a different episode.
That's right. Yes, exactly. We've done great.
Thank you so much for being on my show.
Thank you. I'm so glad it worked. I'm so glad.
I'll talk to you
tech issues
next time. Yes. I plugged in my mic. I'm so proud of myself.
Oh, good for you. I had my cup of coffee.
Yes. I had my... Cheers. You are truly fabulous. Yes. Quotes, people. So empowering quotes.
Yes. And I'm like, let the adventure begin.
Yes.
Bring it.
Yes. My coach once sent me a picture saying, Frodo going, I'm going on to an adventure. Or was it not Frodo, but...
YOLO.
No, YOLO. No, you have from The Hobbit.
Oh gosh.
He's his uncle.
I know what you mean.
And he goes, I'm going on an adventure. And she went like, this is you. And I'm like, oh yes, it is.
It is.
Like new adventure.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm really going to try to wrap it up now. Thank you so much. Everybody, buy the book, Confessions of a Confident ADHD Mind. You can find it on Touch of Sass or go to Amazon and buy the printed version because it has colors and it's way more cooler.
It's way more cooler.
Yes. So thank you so much. If you like the show, please, people, rate and review. Let me know what you think. If you have questions, feel free to send me a direct message. And for now, Stephanie, thank you so much.
Bye. It was so nice to meet you, Nadine. Yay!